Welcome back everyone, and today I'll be showcasing my Werewolf solo PvP build. I've also made 2 videos previously that go in depth and explain pretty much everything you need to know about PvP as a werewolf, so I highly recommend checking it out first. This video will focus more on the build itself, so a lot of the more in-depth mechanics I won't cover here since they are already covered in the guides. I link the guides as well as some gameplay footage in the description as well as the timestamps. And without further ado, let's get into the video. As usual, this is the full build. Feel free to take a screenshot if you need to. And let's start off by going through the skills. In this video, I'll just quickly explain why I choose each skill and what each skill does. In my guides, I went much more in depth into the functionality of every single skill, so do check it out. For the transform morph, I went pack leader. There's just 3 main reasons why this morph is better. It is much tankier, its damage is actually not that far behind the other morph, and most importantly, it lets you stay in werewolf form much more easily. For my pounds, I'm running Feral Pounds because it helps to generate fury, which is a very important werewolf mechanic, and it also generates some stam. Hersin's Fortitude is kind of the obvious choice here. It scales off our HP, which is what we are going to stack a lot of, since most of your werewolf heals are going to scale off HP. The other morph makes you take more damage and doesn't give as much healing, so it's not really good in PvP. Both morphs of Raw are very good. Personally, I went with Ferocious for more damage, and it also allows me to use the synergy myself, which is a considerable damage boost. And it also gives Major Prophecy, which is not that important for damage on a werewolf, but it also helps a lot with your healing. Rip and Tear is your main spammable. The other morph is honestly just for PvE, and this will heal you for a lot, and it also scales off of your HP. Blood Claws is the last skill. This one is pretty obvious choice for PvP. The other morph is a channeled, kind of works like Arcanist Beam or the reworked Dragon Knight's Breath, so it's not really, the other morph is not really useful in PvP. Blood Claws is a pretty good damage over time, has a hard hitting AoE initial, and also has a higher chance of applying status, and it's a pretty nice heal over time as well. So that's all for the werewolf skills. As for the skills outside of werewolf, it really doesn't matter what you run, because like 99% of the time you should be in werewolf form, but the bottom line is just run whatever that helps you survive until you can get into werewolf form again, should you ever run out of ultimate. So this is just what I run. I won't go through too much in depth. Flare is pretty nice to slot just for the major protection. And finally, for class mastery, we are running Conservation of Energy. This is the core part of this build. It gives you practically infinite sustain and is one of your largest sources of healing in general, giving you a very big HP scaling heal every single ability you cast, including your bash, roll, as well as break free. And I explain the mechanics of this skill much more in depth in my advanced guide. The other skill is Calculated Defense, which gives you a pretty large damage shield actually, but just for 0.5 seconds every single time you cast your fear. And most of the time, as long as you're not taking too much damage, this shield will expire and give you 6% weapon damage, which is a pretty nice buff. This skill can also proc off of your heavy attack as well as your werewolf pounce ability, as you can see here. But yeah, I do cover this a lot more in depth in my guides. Static Reverberation is also another choice you can run perfectly fine. Just take note that on the pack leader morph, it is nerfed in 3 by the passive, since the pets do count towards it, but it's still a very good choice if you want more damage instead of Calculated Defense. In my other guides, I also went through running other classes on werewolf, but for now this build will be focused on sorcerer only. So let's move on to the gear setup. I'm running 5-piece Gore Teeth, 5-piece Serpent's Disdain, Shattered Path Mythic, as well as 1-piece Trainee. For my back bar, I'm running Potentates, but honestly it doesn't really matter. You can run anything you want. Now, Shattered Path is definitely one of the strongest mythics in the game right now, and is even stronger for Werewolf because the main downside of Signet is that you can't really use your ultimate without making it useless, but this is completely irrelevant in Werewolf. In Werewolf, you should be pretty much at near 500 ultimate most of the fights on the pack leader morph. Even with the minor timidity, it doesn't matter. It's very easy to stay and max out with pack leader. Shattered Path will greatly buff your status effect damage done, and status effects, as you will see later, will probably be our main damage source on this build. And Signet goes really well with Disdain, which is the other one of the 5 pieces that I'm running. Disdain basically extends your status effects duration from 4 to 20 seconds. So you can pretty much have permanent status effects up at all times. And it goes really well with the Force of Nature CP passive. And there's a total of 8 status effects in this game, and with Shattered Path and Disdain, you can quite easily get all 8 effects up on your enemy as long as you focus them for a bit. So this goes really well with the Force of Nature CP, and will be taking advantage of the fact to greatly buff our penetration. The other 5 piece is Gore Thief. Gore Thief, in my opinion, is the most stacked 5 piece you can run, because not only does it give you a very strong burst, which is AoE and very easy to proc. All you need to do is just bash. The bash doesn't even have to land on the enemy, so it is really good for finishing off low HP opponents when rolling. On top of that, it also gives you a very strong heal every single time you roll. The heal scales off of a max health, and as you can see, the tooltip is pretty substantial, and the stacks are very easy to build on a Werewolf. Now, normally I don't really like running Gore Thief on just 1 bar, but because I find it on normal setups, normal 2 bar setups, I find it really inconvenient to only have Gore Thief on the front bar, since I can't build the stacks while I'm on the back bar, or I can't proc the heal as well. But on Werewolf, that doesn't matter since you're just permanently on 1 bar, so this is a very, very strong choice. I do, for alternatives, I went through a lot of them in my guides. But yeah, but some alternatives you can do is like Savage Werewolf, also a very good damage set. One Piece Trainee, just to stack max HP. Stacking max HP is very important on Werewolf, and as you can see, we are all running all max health enchantments, and 2 healthy, 1 protective. You can also go 3 healthy, doesn't really matter. Max health stacking is highly efficient on Werewolf. Most of your heals are HP scaling, and you don't really lose much damage from running this much HP, since a lot of your damage will be coming from your weapon damage, not really your max stam. For my traits, I'm running 3 reinforced on the 3 heavy pieces and 4 impen on the rest. For my armor, I'm running 3 heavy, 3 medium, and 1 light. But honestly, anything from 5 heavy, 1 medium to 5 medium, 1 heavy works. I've experimented with a lot of combinations, and they all feel equally great. I think you can decide on yourself based on your playstyle. Like if you want more damage and you want to sprint a lot more, roll a lot more, then I think medium is for you. But if you want more HP, more healing, and more face tanking, heavy is for you. But personally, I just run 3 of each, and I find it very good. As mentioned, I'm running 2 healthy and 1 protective. And for the enchantments, I'm running all damage. It really doesn't matter whether it's stam or mag. Personally, I never ever run out of both. I don't think I've lost a single fight before because I ran out of sustain. So sustain, I think, is really a non-issue on this build, so it doesn't really matter what you run. Now for the weapons, it doesn't matter what weapon you run. None of the weapon passives work in Werewolf form, with the exception of the Hasty Retreat passive from Bow, which for some reason works. So Right now I'm running dual wield, is definitely much more damage than bow, but if you want to sacrifice damage for mobility, you can definitely run bow instead. I would run a charged bow personally, with either the flame or poison enchantment. But for now I'm running double charged, one flame and one poison. I think both of these enchantments makes perfect sense since they are the most damage dealing enchantments, status effects, on top of hemorrhaging, which you already have from your werewolf skills. I run double charge, which is a bit unorthodox. I think most people run none on the main hand. But personally, I think because this build relies so much on status effects, I think you gain much more value from another charged. And in fact, I think most PvE builds also run double charged even without the signet, because charge is just that good. So yeah, that's all for the gear setup, and let's move on to the other stuff. So again, for my attributes, all points into HP, think no reason not to. For my mundus, I'm running the lover. I don't really think HP or resist mundus is needed. I think if anything, this build lacks damage, not really survivability, as you can see if you were to watch my gameplay footage. And for my food, I'm running Bewitch Sugar Skulls for tri-stat, as well as HP recovery, which is actually quite a lot of which actually contributes quite a lot to your healing on a werewolf. HP recovery is very important on werewolf, which I explained in the guide. For my potions, I'm running armor pots. Again, you don't really need tri-stats. This build already has infinite sustain, so run armor pots. Resistance is one thing that werewolf kind of lacks, so having armor pots is, I think, absolutely essential for a werewolf. You can find the ingredients here. And lastly, for my race, I'm an Imperial. I like Imperial because it gives a lot of HP and stamina, and the sustain is pretty nice as well. But I would just like to say this. Personally, after playing Werewolf in open world for a bit, I actually don't think Imperial is the best race for this build. I really feel like this, I don't really need the sustain passive since I have so much sustain in open world. But if you're a newer player and you struggle with sustain, then I think Imperial is still a very, very good choice. But in hindsight, I think I would have went Orc or Dark Elf for more damage. I think Orc is especially good because of the sprint passive. And I also feel like I'm kind of lacking damage on this, so definitely I think a damage race is very good. Even Argonian is a very good choice for more healing, and Nord is potentially quite good as well. But in hindsight, I think I would have went Orc, but Imperial again is still a very solid choice because it gives HP and sustain. So I think that's all for the core build. Let's move on to the CP passives. For my blue CP, I'm running Focus Mending, Duelist Rebuff, Deadly Aim, and Force of Nature. Force of Nature is absolutely essential for this build, or honestly with any build using the status Mythic and Disdain. Deadly Aim, most of your damage on Werewolf is single target, so I think this is a very solid choice. As for direct versus damage over time, I think Werewolf is pretty evenly split between damage over time and direct, at least on this build, because you have a lot of damage over time status effects like hemorrhaging, poison, and flame and burning. So personally, I don't use either of these, but yeah, definitely most of your damage is single target, so use Deadly Aim. Duelist Rebuff, I think most of the damage you take is also single target. There's a lot of like status effect builds now, and status effects are all single target. All of our heals are single target as well, so Focus Mending is really nice. Now, originally I thought Cleansing Revival is going to be essential for solo PvP right now, but honestly, after using it, I feel like this CP passive, at least on Werewolf, doesn't really do much. Like, most of the time my HP doesn't drop low, and like 90% of the time, if it even goes below 25%, then I'm dead either way, so I don't really feel like this passive helps much, but you can definitely run it if you prefer. It is really good for removing some more dangerous effects like Gerald Mountains. For my raid CP, I'm running Pain's Refuge, Survival Instincts, Strategic Reserve, and Fortified. Pain's Refuge and Survival are very standard for PvP. Survivor, even though your sustain is very good, I still really like it because this build does rely a lot on dodge rolls, so this really helps. Strategic Reserve, since I'm pretty much always at 500 out, the HP recovery is really nice, especially since it does get buffed by stuff like your potions and your heavy armor passive. But you can swap this out if you want for Juggernaut or Boundless Vitality, also a very good choice. And finally Fortified to give me more armor. Again, you can swap this out for Juggernaut if you want. So that's all for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I really recommend watching the 2 guides that I posted if you haven't. I think a lot of the information covered there is absolutely crucial for playing and understanding this build effectively. I'll also be uploading more gameplay footage in the near future, and I'm also working on a guide to counter Werewolf. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.